If I had to start over and buy a home and get a mortgage here in 2026, I would be doing it entirely different than what had worked in the past. The market's changed, guys. Like what worked 3 to 5 years ago does not cut it anymore. Lending has changed. How you go about actually trying to find real estate has changed. The access to information now is literally infinite. And of course, everybody out there has an opinion. So knowing all of this, I want to make it simpler for you as someone that may be looking to break into real estate here in the San Francisco Bay Area market by giving you a 3-part framework as to what you need to do to either buy a home to live in or invest in it. And this applies to you no matter where you're at in your life right now. Whether you are a first-time buyer, a high-income renter, or someone that's looking to make money through rental properties. There's a whole new framework and a whole new ball game that we're working with right now, guys, and I want to give this to you. But we'll jump into the first step here, but let me quickly introduce myself to you again. I've been working as a mortgage advisor for 24 years, 20 of them right here in the San Francisco Bay Area. My name is Arjun Dhingra. I'm a 2-time Taekwondo world champion, former Team USA co-head coach, longtime mortgage advisor, as I mentioned, and someone who loves helping people make smarter decisions around taking out mortgage debt. If me and my team can be of help to you, as we've helped thousands of families over the last few decades, not just live here, but thrive here and create real long-term wealth, please reach out to me on Instagram at Arjun Mortgage, and we will find a way to provide you whatever resources you need to either learn more about this market or actually finally put down some roots. It'd be an honor to help. And now let's get into today's topic. So we all have heard the expression that it matters who you work with. You'll hear this sometimes almost as a cheap marketing line, but I'm going to tell you right now, as part one of the framework, who you work with, without a doubt, matters. In fact, your success in this real estate market, whether you acquire the right property for yourself to live in, where you finally put that search to an end, or all those times that you've been striking out and not breaking through, or you find the right income generating property that's not going to turn into a money pit, is entirely predicated on you working with the right real estate advisor and mortgage advisor. Now you'll notice I used the word advisor in both of those titles. And that is because this market, which is the one we're heading to in 2026, has forever changed and no longer truly has a place for a real estate agent and a typical mortgage loan officer. The reason is because you don't actually need either of these two professionals to help you get that service. That's right, you can get a home without having to deal with a real estate agent, and you can get a mortgage without having to talk to a loan officer on the phone. They don't carry any value anymore. In fact, not many people actually even respect people that work in those roles or refer to themselves as such. But what the market does respect is an actual advisor. People that operate on those levels, myself included as a mortgage advisor, bring a lot more than just the basic skill set of doing that job. They bring expertise. They bring frames of reference, countless transactions that they could somehow apply towards your individual situation. They bring their connections. They bring their book of contacts that can help you figure things out. They're resources after you get into the property, such as access to their wealth advisors, their tax strategists. They also have access to things that aren't on the regular market. So when you work with these people, they might be a little bit more expensive, but what you're paying for is everything that they come with. The years of experience, and all of that actual substance that they bring to the table. That's what I tell every single client. With me, you're getting 24 years of not just doing mortgages, but using this as an actual tool to unlock wealth and figuring out how this is going to impact you from a long-term wealth perspective, from a tax standpoint. Because an A-level lender, such as yours truly, will not just quote rates. Again, you don't need me for that. You can just go online and get someone to do it for you, or some robot. But because I've seen multiple cycles, including the 2008 crash, the pre- and post-COVID market cycles, and also the 2023 to 2025 affordability squeeze, and help you figure out the right strategies to be able to penetrate any type of these cycles. Now, an A-level real estate advisor is going to know how to structure deals, how to leverage the marketplace and all the contacts or connections that they have, how to negotiate fiercely on your behalf, how to find off-market deals. And that ultimately, when you combine that with an A-level type of lending experience, is how you're going to actually win. It's literally going to be the difference between you landing the home and not getting it now. This isn't amateur anymore and going with your cousin Joe who just got his license simply because you think anyone can write the offer. Going with Joe will make Thanksgiving a little bit easier on you, but it actually is going to hurt your family's net worth. And going with your dad's mortgage broker simply because he's worked with him for 50 years, but he uses a fax machine still, is not going to help you get a creative financing package put through. So you guys get the picture here. Amateur hour is over. It's not time to work. It's not time to work with rookies or people that can play it nice in this market, but almost fierce mafia-like professionals that are going to fight on your behalf and not stop until you succeed. Okay, this this leads us into part 2, which is building a very strong but flexible financing package. In 2026, the people that are going to break through and get their homes are going to be a little bit similar to the ones that succeeded here in 2025, which means they had financing flexibility. The old days of just getting pre-approved for a certain amount with a certain market rate and then walking around with that letter from house to house to shop around and eventually write an offer do not work. The main reason for that is that the market is moving way too fast. It's too volatile. Anytime there's a peep out of Washington or something that happens geopolitically or the threat of a new tariff taking effect, the market goes into a little bit of a crazy cycle and mortgage rates can spike or drop literally that same day. Now, if a spike ends up happening and you were only qualified for a certain price point based on a certain market rate, and now that rate is higher, you no longer qualify for this price point, which means your search ends. So what we like to do is create a flex approval, which means whatever the market rate is at, we're going to flex the interest rate up by 0.25%, maybe even more, to make sure that that monthly payment at the price point that you are shopping in is still going to hold and still be comfortable. Because if it doesn't, then we're going to need to adjust our price point. The same thing is structuring what sort of offer price you may need to come in with. We want to know with the cash that you're working with, do you need to use all of it towards this transaction? Would you like to hold some of it back so that you've got money for an emergency rainy day fund or money for improvements for that house because that's what's going to be required? Or you just want to leave it in the bank so that you can sleep easier because you're not sure what the future holds. We're also building loan options that will help you pivot. ARM options, temporary buy downs, using seller credits to offset other costs, cash flow analysis if it's an investment focused property. All of this goes much further beyond just getting pre-approved for a mortgage anymore. Again, those were yesterday's market rules and they won't fly in today's market. So structuring your approval so that it's got some buffers and it has some flexibility is going to be key, because this is what ultimately is going to give you the confidence to be able to act when the right property shows up and not feel that everything has to line up only in one straight line with your pre-approval, the offer price, the market rates, and ultimately getting into that property. It's just unrealistic to function that way anymore. We live in too crazy of times and they're not going to get any less crazy in 2026. Broadly speaking, with the passage of the big beautiful bill, future interest rate cuts on the horizon, and tariff revenue continuing to climb month over month at record levels, there's going to be a lot of capital running around this US economy, and that's going to have an impact on mortgage rates. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that the roller coaster is going to continue and you need to be prepared when it comes to having a flexible approval package. All right, so this brings us to the third part of the framework, which is figuring out which way when it comes to entering the real estate market you want to actually go down. Is it to buy a property to actually live in, or what is called owner occupancy? Or do you have a really good rent situation that is so dirt cheap it's literally too good to turn away from, and you'd rather actually take all your extra money and put this towards a real estate investment? Because with that comes some major tax advantages, so much so that it might actually offset what you're paying in rent, where you're literally living for free. Now that's a separate video topic that I'll get into, which is how to take full tax advantage of the real estate situation you're in. But for now, just understand that investment property purchases have huge perks, and that's all part of this amazing and incredible US tax code. But for those that are planning to live in the property or owner occupied, this is all going to be about lifestyle plus leverage, because ultimately what you are doing is locking in your own fixed housing costs, your own certainty of never having to worry about a landlord kicking you out, jacking up the rent, coming in and doing things that you don't want to have done to that place that you live in, and also most importantly taking full advantage of the tax benefits that are available to you as someone who owns a home. But in 2026, even as affordability remains tight, you cannot time the market, but what you can time is your life. Meaning, what is your life plan for coming into this? I advise clients that are looking at this owner-occupied pathway to be having at least a 5 to 7 year window of seeing themselves in this property. This way you don't get hung up on short-term noise about interest rates and where they're at now. You also are allowing yourself plenty of time for the market appreciation cycle to continue to build year after year, where you'll actually create some serious equity in this property that you acquire, and you can just settle in and allow your finances to catch up, because owning a home is major responsibility. There's a lot of deferred maintenance that's going to come with it. There's expenses that you aren't necessarily anticipating for right now, and you want to allow yourself to kind of get used to this and catch back up. And that takes anywhere from 5 to 7 years. Another major benefit, guys, of thinking in this 5 to 7 year window is what the forced savings of this plan are going to be for you. Having a home is basically your piggy bank. It's forced savings. So if you want the most disciplined saver, where you're always putting money away, think of this house as kind of a means to now be able to do that. Because yes, although you're putting some money away and it's going towards interest to the bank, you have market appreciation, and some of your monthly payment which increases over time, of course, is actually paying down this debt. That spread of what the home is worth and the debt that you owe on that home is called the equity, which is yours. And this piggy bank is something that you are forcing yourself to save within. And many Americans don't have the discipline to just save on their own. So owning a home is their forced saving. Now let's look at the investor path. So again, you might be someone who's in a situation where you're paying really cheap rent and it's too good to turn away or get rid of. And there are a lot of people that advocate for this type of stance. Think of Ramit Sethi. This is one of the proudest renters in all of America, and he has a massive net worth to back up that statement because he has the discipline to take all of his additional cash flow, or the money that he's making after paying for his very affordable, well within his means lifestyle, and invest it into things that are going to get him a much, much better rate of return than just owning a home. But taking a page from Ramit Sethi's book, this is something that people here in the United States really overlook, which is that you don't have to actually move to get into real estate. You can stay right where you're at. Now, there are two types of investment markets. There are appreciation markets and there are cash flow markets. And you want to analyze which one you're in. So for San Francisco, this is a little bit of one of those unique hybrids where it's a cash flow market because rents are high and continue to climb, but it's also a very fast appreciating market, historically speaking. Now, some markets are just one or the other. Prices are stable and such that if you put down enough money, you're going to cash flow because rents are at a pretty high or elevated level. And then there's other markets where maybe the rents aren't that great, but home prices or property values continue to climb year over year at a pretty fast clip. So you're building equity even faster. So maybe you're looking at a condo in a growth market, or you're looking at a small multi-unit in an urban area. You get cash flow, appreciation, and optionality, all while keeping your low rent where you live. Plus, there's all of those tax advantages that you get from depreciation, maybe even doing a cost segregation study. And again, guys, when you do things like this, you're going to have such offsets on your actual regular income that it might be so much so that you're living actually completely tax-free. Now, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Whether you're going the owner-occupied route or you're going into investment, there's a real estate strategy that's right for everybody. Both build wealth just through different channels. So again, guys, if I was buying a home or getting into real estate investing right now in 2026 and had not done it before, this framework is exactly what I would use. I would build an A-level team that does not play the F around, find out game. They know what they're doing, they know how to get you what you want, and they are relentless when it comes to winning. I mean, and who better to pair up with, right? You want to make sure that you are financially flexible in your approval, and then you ultimately need to pick a pathway, whether you want to live in a property or actually invest into property. Because markets at the end of the day, guys, will always shift. There's going to be ups and downs, but strategy is the constant thing. If you have the right strategy and you're coming correct with the right team, you're always going to put yourself in the best possible position for success. And in this crazy, wild, competitive market right here that we call San Francisco or the Bay Area at large, you are going to need that. The old rules won't work anymore. So if you found this video to be useful, please make sure you like it, share it with somebody else, drop us a comment, tell us what you found useful or what maybe you don't agree with. And if there's anything we can do for you, from creating a strategy, whether it's right here in the short term or a long-term plan of fixing your credit and eventually putting yourself in position to be able to invest in a real estate, just please reach out. Our resources are here for you, even our connections or contacts. So just let us know if you'd like an introduction to someone, and I'm glad to have someone from my team or myself make that for you. Thanks, guys, for paying attention and tuning into this very important topic of how to win in this real estate market in 2026 and beyond. We'll see you guys on the next one.